Good afternoon. Thank you everybody for joining us today. We're happy to have you and excited to show you the new features in the Lumu portal and some of the new cool and exciting things that we've added to the product here. So today, really, the training is going to be focused on, again, those new features and how as an organization you can, utilize them for different purposes. We're going to give you sort of a behind the scenes look of the 24/7 process that we go through day in and day out continuously that we call the illumination process. So we're going to be giving you sort of behind the scenes look at how it works, and really just kind of talk about what this illumination process is, right? And I think, some of you are probably familiar with this, others of you may not really be necessarily, but just to give you a little bit of background, the illumination process is really kind of the core foundation of how Lumu detects threats impacting our customers' network. So in the recent product release, what we wanted to do was find a way to show that to you in a way that's understandable to humans, right? For Lumu, a lot of this is just data and information, and we make sense of that with our technology, right? But for the human, to be able to understand what it is that we're doing with this data and how we create sort of a baseline to identify malicious activity, that's what we wanted to demonstrate here. We wanted to show you really the power of this process in the portal in a way that you can, again, understand it as a human and visualize it better. So before we go into the portal, I want to talk about what the illumination process is and the different steps here. I won't spend too much time here, but I do want to explain to you kind of the fundamentals about how the product works, right? The illumination process has several stages here, several different kind of phases that the metadata goes through, but it really all starts with the collection of network metadata right here. What we do at this point is that we run that metadata through, known IOCs. So we run that by known IOCs, and then we identify compromise from there. So really, at that point, we report those as incidents in the portal, but there's more to that illumination process. We're able to identify compromise in the network by running it through, artificial intelligence engines, and then through a process of anomalies of interest, deep correlation, and then ultimately playback. And the playback portion of that is how we identify or how we really kick off retrospective threat hunting exercises. With new data that we get from activity in your network, we're able to run that against prior activity to see if you've been in contact with a newly identified IOC. So this is a process that's happening continuously, and this is the process that we use to identify and pinpoint malicious activity. And we're going to be diving into this quite a lot throughout the training, but that's just the high-level overview of what the illumination process does and the process that your metadata really follows 24/7 with Lumu. So right now in the product, you're able to identify these two stages of the illumination process. You're able to very easily see in the incident view these phases. So you're able to see that collection of metadata, run against the known IOCs and then convert it into an incident in the portal. So we'll just go to the portal really quick and just show you so that you can visualize and understand like that these two phases are essentially the incidents view of the portal. So let me just go over here. I'm going to switch over to the portal that we're going to be spending some time in today. All right, so again, those incidents, those, confirmed compromises are going to be your incidents. Those are the first two steps of the illumination process, right? It's going to be all of the incidents that you see here, that contact with, adversaries. It's going to be, the different types of incidents that you see, whether that's malware, phishing, whatever it is. So all of this, when you go into that incident view, which many of you probably spend a majority of your time there now, you see, the IOC that you're in contact with, what kind of, threat this is related to, the detections, how the endpoint is communicating with that. Many of you are fairly familiar with this, but I do like to refresh and I do like to touch on it because, again, this is all the result of those first two steps of the illumination process. You have your operation timeline as well, showing you any activity that's taken place and any automated response that's also taken place with the incident. You're able to take action here. You get all the highlights, all of that threat intelligence related to this. So you're able to see, not only about the threat, but just about like the activity related to the threat, the responses that have taken place, areas of the business that it's impacted as well. and how the attack is distributed across the organization and how it's moving. And again, this is all confirmed compromise. This is all just those first two phases of the illumination process. And then any threat information, threat related data that we can share there, articles, related resources, so on and so forth. Everything that we know about the IOC, we put that for you in one place. So helping you understand, what's happening there in the network. So just to kind of touch on that, that is really what you're seeing right now as it relates to the illumination process. Again, those two areas of the illumination process currently. Now with the latest release, there's a lot more to show there. There's a lot more to see. So it's a lot more complex than that, the illumination process. You're able to see what the product is doing day by day, minute by minute, and visualize the rest of that illumination process. You're able to see that artificial, the data that goes into artificial intelligence engines and to the anomalies of interest, again, in a way that you can visualize it and understand it. We're trying to show you that baseline. So, in the customer portal, you can see those full steps. So the analytics features, the new ones that you're going to see are going to, again, highlight these three, the deep correlation, and then a little bit more about playback. So now you'll be able to visualize that. And in the portal, you're going to be able to see this part of the illumination process, this behind the scenes view under the analytics tab. So it's going to be here under intelligence. You're going to notice a new tab that says analytics. This has been around since January or so, but for the purpose of the training, just want to highlight exactly where you can find it. So under this analytics tab is where you're going to find, again, that deeper dive into that. So as you'll see at the top here, you're going to see where it says illumination process, you're going to get some key metrics here about that, right? You're going to see all of the metadata that we've analyzed over the last 30 days, right? And from that, the amount of traffic that we've analyzed and the amount of confirmed compromise that has then been identified from that traffic. So you're able to not only see the amount of traffic, but then what was malicious from that traffic. So just sort of breaking it down for you and giving you an understanding of how the product is working for you and how it's analyzing or identifying malicious activity for you. The next thing you're going to see are anomalies. So you're going to be able to see basically how many anomalies have been identified there, how many endpoints are associated with anomalous behavior. So based on all of these records, the number of endpoints interacting with or behaving in an anomalous way or contacting different anomalies of interest. Then lastly, there you're going to see playback and the activity that's taking place in the playback. So remember that playback is that feature that shows, the retrospective threat hunting, or really does retrospective threat hunting for you. So now here you're going to be able to see how many threat hunting scans, I guess you could say, have taken place with the new IOCs that we've identified with all the network metadata. We're able to go back and see if you've been in touch with those IOCs in the past. So this is, really the way that playback activity is shown to you in real time. We're able to show you those retrospective scans, and then also the number of hits that we found or records that we found associated with playback or associated with prior contact with that newly identified IOC. Now below that, you're going to notice a couple of different tabs. You're going to notice the network behavior tab, and then you're going to notice the anomalies tab. And we're going to get into everything in both of them. But first we'll start with the general network profile. So here you're going to see how Lumu defines the profile of your network. And we try to, again, make this visual in a way that we as humans can relate to and understand and get a feel for, right? First and foremost, you're going to see the geographical destination here of your network. And you're going to be able to see the network trends from a geographical perspective for your organization. So basically, the cool thing about it is that it's easier than before, to visualize where your network is mostly contacting. And not only that, but to be able to get this image and download the graph or copy the image and maybe add it to a PowerPoint or something like that if you're presenting to the board and you need to, maybe talk about where the majority of your traffic is coming from. So it's really easy. And we try to make it as easy as possible in the different, in the different parts of this new view for you to be able to share this information in a way that makes sense. You can copy all of these graphs. You can, again, just in the three dots there, you can copy the graph, you can download the image. just so that you can share with other stakeholders if you ever need to. If you're putting a report together or whatever the case might be, you can, pick and choose the different elements that you want to show there. But basically, if you hover over the different countries, you're going to see, again, the activity that's coming from those locations and geographically where the majority of your traffic is connecting to. So that's really what you're visualizing up here. Then to the right of that, you're going to be able to see the metadata distribution by type. So this is just what the majority of your metadata is that's being ingested there and the records associated with that. So again, just for your reference and to be aware of the type of metadata that is mostly being collected through Lumu. And then below that, you have your daily network activity. So here you're going to be seeing how it is that Lumu understands your network from a timestamp point of view, if you will. So for every day of the week, every time of the day, this is showing you how Lumu behaves 24/7, basically. Lumu's doing this job 24/7 of showing you the different patterns of your network, observing the patterns of your network, and then identifying what's normal and what's not normal. So this is an important baseline that we use for, the artificial intelligence engines and the other components of the illumination process that you saw there. These are important components and important baselines for those processes to take into consideration to identify, again, is this normal for this organization? Is this abnormal? And this is all informational for you. This doesn't require any action. Most of what I'm showing today, all of what I'm showing today does not require immediate action from you guys as customers or whatever the case might be. When you're using the product, this is really just providing value to you and keeping you really informed and enriched regarding the knowledge of your network and how it behaves and what's normal and what's not normal. A lot of this information can just be used as a point of reference and as a way of you to maybe decipher if there's something potentially unusual going on. But basically, if any of this information results in something truly malicious, like confirmed compromise, that becomes an incident at that point, and Lumu handles it. And Lumu will trigger your integrations to respond to it. So there's no need to worry about having to take any particular action with any of this data. This is all data for you to be able to visualize and understand your network and to potentially see if there's something that stands out to you that's unusual. You can always, begin a threat hunting exercise or something of the sort. But I just want you guys to know that, there's not necessarily urgent action that needs to be taken here. It's more informative and to give you a behind the scenes view of how the product works and to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit, where in the past we weren't showing that in the portal necessarily. And then, so going back to the network activity by destination, not only do you see that, but you also see it by labels. So you see which labels are the most active there, depending on the way that you've labeled for your organization. Now, if you continue scrolling down, you have more information about destination details regarding the different domains. So basically here, this is pretty interesting, I think, for security practitioners. Essentially, the lower the popularity of the sites in your network, of course, this is a demo account, but we just have some data in here, but the lower the popularity of those sites are that your network is contacting, generally speaking, the higher the risk. If you're accessing domains that are not in the top, destinations or the top domains by popularity, generally you're going to see a higher risk. The more traffic, you're going to want more traffic to the more popular domains or the more known domains. So that's how you're going to sort of know if, the legitimacy of your traffic and whether or not maybe there's something potentially suspicious going on. So it's just going to help you maybe scrutinize activity a little more closely. Again, there's no immediate action that needs to be taken, with this information, but it's really just for you to know what's happening and kind of what, domains your network is accessing for the most part. And we do this analysis again across the top destinations from the top, 10,000 to 1 million domains on the internet. Below that, you're going to see some information about the top 50 domains and subdomains. And so basically from all of those destinations, you're going to see how that sort of distributes across your network. So if your company is a Microsoft shop, you're going to see a lot of Microsoft here. If you're a Gmail shop, et cetera, you're going to see a lot of Gmail here. So in this example, in this demo, you're going to be seeing a lot of Gmail. This is, let's say a Gmail shop. And the intention of this view here, that is to basically show you where the traffic is mostly going to. The interface here is meant to be intuitive for you to click around and sort of understand where the majority of your traffic is connecting to and how your network is behaving. So the biggest value is just being aligned with this, I think, right? Does everything you see here make sense? Do these destinations, do these categories make sense to you? Do they make sense for your organization? I think those are important things to ask yourself. Is this what you expected to see based on, the behavior and based on your network? Those are the kind of things that I think are kind of important to pay attention to here and when you're reviewing the data in these areas. Again, Lumu's going to take action if anything actually malicious occurs, but these are good data points and good information to have regarding how well you know your network and how you understand how the behavior of that network. So again, the goal with Lumu was really to be able to educate and inform our customers about how it's behaving and give you a behind the scenes look about how we're establishing the baseline for what's normal for your organization. And so much of this data is just so very important for determining what's malicious and what's not malicious. So that's the network behavior tab. Again, really nice to be able to copy, paste, and download these images for reports or whatever it is that you need to do, maybe share with other stakeholders. These are great data points. The next thing that we'll go into is going to be the anomalies tab. Now here you're going to be seeing that anomalies of interest part of the illumination process that we saw earlier on. So now you're going to be able to connect this a little bit more with that illumination process. And this is the part where we're digging a bit deeper into anomalies of interest. And so, this is going to show you the endpoints that are potentially contacting anomalous IOCs, or not IOCs, but making anomalous contact with different domains and different destinations. So maybe unusual or strange behavior. So you're going to be seeing the endpoint data. You're going to be seeing maybe the number of domains that it's contacting, how frequently that contact is taking place. And then a cool thing here is the confidence level of that being truly an anomaly. If it reaches a certain threshold and a certain confidence level, Lumu initiates and creates an incident out of that, and then takes it, sort of to the next level and creates an incident, response to that automatically. But this is, again, giving you a visual of how we identify those anomalies of interest and then how we narrow it down to essentially being an incident later on. No action needed on your part, purely informative. You have this table view. This is one way to view it. You select on the activity here. You're going to be able to see a graph here that shows you contact patterns and frequencies. And then not only that, but you're going to be able to see the actual contacts themselves. So you're going to be able to see the endpoint and what domains it's contacting. You're going to be able to see more details as you typically do in the incidents. You're going to be able to see all that additional data, the string data that we have for that contact there. So it's a good way, again, to be informed about what's happening, to see how the endpoints are potentially communicating with those anomalies of interest. And what we mean by anomalies of interest. So we're showing you all of that here with the different contacts that take place. And you can download all of this information for your own reference if you ever need to, if you ever want to cross-reference it with something else or initiate a threat hunting exercise. So you can view this in the table view. But I think the graphical view gives a pretty cool visual and a nice understanding of those contact patterns. So here you're going to be seeing an endpoint that's contacting different domains, right? You're going to see a distribution like this. In this example, maybe you're going to see an endpoint that it could be compromised by malware, or it has DGA capabilities, or a technique to exfiltrate data, or perhaps persistence in the network. So that's kind of what you're visualizing here with these kinds of contact, right? There's different types of views here and different ways that you can visualize this. You can, of course, you can zoom to see this a little bit closer. You can reset the graph to go back. But basically here you can see an example of potential lateral movement. So if you're seeing this view, the endpoints are essentially these central things. These are the endpoints. And if you are seeing that there's connection between endpoints, you see multiple endpoints connecting to the same domain in question, this could potentially indicate that there's lateral movement happening in the network. And then you might ask yourself at that point, why is this endpoint contacting that domain? Does that make sense for my organization? So those are good kind of things to think about and to ask when you're looking through this. Again, all of the contact data, as you click through this, whether it's in the table or whether it's in the graph, is going to be shown to you to the right on the radar chart and in the contacts. So you can go for further analysis. And we're really doing this job for you. So you don't need, this is not taken to the next level. This is not an incident yet. But if you're an organization that maybe you like to carry out proactive threat hunting exercises, or you want to potentially build threat hunting hypotheses, this is a very good place to start with this particular feature. Again, if the confidence level about what's happening here increases to a point, to a certain point, Lumu is going to validate that it's a threat and then convert it into an incident for you, automatically respond to that for you if you have response capabilities configured into your Lumu environment. So Lumu is detecting this and stopping it for you. Again, when it reaches a certain level of confidence and a certain threshold, at that point, there's action taken. But again, it's great for threat hunting exercises. It's great to just understand what's happening in your network, what those contact patterns look like. If there's something unusual there that doesn't quite make sense, maybe you want to download it, see what the contact patterns have been, or see more details about this activity. All of that information is there for you. And we wanted to make this as intuitive as possible. We wanted to make it as easy for the end user to understand and just really peel back the curtain of what it is that we're doing in the background of the illumination process, not just producing the incidents, which are super important and really the core of what the product is designed to do and incredibly important. I think the incidents are the most, the area that should, require the most focus. But this is going to be a really great way to inform yourself about how your network behaves and learn about those potential contact patterns, domains that you're contacting, times of the day that are more frequent for you. If you see anything unusual, again, it's a great way to kick off a threat hunting exercise. And it's a great way to show, other stakeholders of the organization that you're well informed when it comes to your network, and that you have this tool that's working for you 24/7, producing this data and updating it in real time. And it's all, constantly being updated with the new metadata that we're collecting. This is happening 24/7, and this is always the newest, most recent data that you're seeing here in the portal. I always like to talk about the fact that we have this help function in the portal. So if you ever have questions about certain features or certain functionality in the portal, the orange question mark there that I just clicked, you can always search here through the doc store. And then we have a lot of resources around not only the illumination process and a lot of what we saw today, but how it is that Lumu uses AI and uses different technologies to identify and pinpoint malicious behavior and malicious activity. So we have these resources. These are some of the resources that I think relate a lot to what we went through today. I believe they're going to be shared in the chat here, but again, they're really nice and they shed light on, again, how some of those algorithms and how some of those processes work in the illumination process to ensure that when we're reporting an incident to you, it's truly malicious, and to kind of shed some light really on how Lumu works in the background. That's what I had in terms of content and in terms of training.